Hello, fight fans. What's going on, family? This is the Sportsbook Killer giving my UFC 290 recap. Uh, didn't have the best night, but we did do damage control and minimize the losses. It was roughly almost a 50% underdog card, where 6 out of the 13 fights were won by the underdog. I had 2 units on Vito Petrino. He came through in a big way. He dominated the fight. I had 10 units on Tatsuro Taira. He came through and just barely won. No kind of dominance for a guy who was he was almost at minus 1,000. He was almost a 10-1 favorite. And he almost got submitted. A few more seconds left in that fight and he would have got submitted. I had a unit on Yasmin Uruguay, who was a top-notch UFC prospect until the guy said fighting. Denise Gomez came across the cage and completely mopped the cage with her in like 20-something seconds. I mean, that was just insane. Hats off to Denise Gomez because I didn't see that coming. Had 2 units on Nico Price. For some odd reason, he forgot how to box and he forgot how to grapple, and a 41-year-old Robbie Lawler took him out like he was an amateur, stretched him out in the middle of the octagon. I think it was 2 left hooks that did it. I'm still trying to figure out what happened there, but the biggest disappointment of the night for me was Jalen Turner. He had the entire fight under control. He was controlling Dan Hooker on the feet. And for some strange reason, around midway in the second round, he completely forgets how to fight. Dan Hooker starts catching him, and within that 2-minute time span, at the end of the second round, Jalen Turner sat on his stool like completely exhausted. He went from looking like he was full of energy after the first round to having not an ounce of energy for the third round. I was totally disappointed, and I think he's proven to everybody now that he won't be championship caliber. He's not championship caliber. If you can't beat Dan Hooker, especially after dominating Dan Hooker like he did in the first round and halfway through the second, I don't know what you do in the UFC. I don't know how you can become champion, unfortunately. Another disappointment was Robert Whitaker. I know Dricus du Plessis is a big man, strong man, very muscular, but I did not see him having the tools to crush Robert Whitaker like he did. However, in Whitaker's defense, du Plessis looked like a giant in there. It looked like Robert Whitaker was fighting someone much, much bigger than himself. Either way, he didn't do any of the things that were characteristic of Robert Whitaker. I didn't see him throw many leg kicks. I thought he would at least throw a teep kick or something to the body, a switch kick to the body or something to bust up du Plessis' midsection, test that cardio on him, and he didn't do it. He seemed kind of lost in there. So I'm not going to say that's the end of Robert Whitaker, but for some odd reason, du Plessis made him look like a really low-level fighter in there. The one rainbow out of this entire card for me was I did pick an upset, and it was the Alexandre Pantoja fight. It didn't look good in the beginning. It looked like Marino had him, and all of a sudden he just woke up and started fighting around, I'll say maybe midway through the second round. Pantoja started bringing it, and as the fight went on, he really started to come on, and Marino started to fade. Rumor has it, I think Marino may have broken his hand in the first round. I don't know, but I do know I was glad Pantoja came through for me because he helped out in a major way with one of my parlays. And Alexander Volkanovski came through. I had 2 units on him. So lost 3 units on Robert Whitaker, picked up a unit with Alexandre Pantoja, and picked up 2 units with Alexander Volkanovski that I had on him. Had 2 units on Alexander Volkanovski, excuse me. Next bets were my over-unders. First, let me total out. So just in regular picks, all in all, I was down minus 1.2 unit just in those picks that I just called off. Okay. And with my over-unders, Tatsuro Taira, I had a half unit on him to win the fight in under 1.5 rounds. The fight went the distance, and like I said, Taira almost got choked out in the last 20 seconds of the fight. If it had been any longer, he probably would have tapped. Who knows? He was in a really nasty guillotine at the end of it. Jimmy Crute, it was a reason why I didn't bet on him, but I thought the fight would at least last over a round and a half. Jimmy Crute, that guy is just, he never ceases to disappoint me. That's why I don't bet on him. He tapped so quick. He's supposed to be the jiu-jitsu guy, and here it is, Minifield chokes him out. So, that was just watching that was irritating. So that he didn't cover the over 1.5 rounds. I had a half a unit on Yasmin Uruguay for that fight to go over 2.5 rounds. Didn't do it. I had 1 unit on Robert Whittaker and Duplessis fight to be over 2.5 rounds. He got rid of Robert Whittaker in 2nd round. I had 1 unit on Alexandra Pantoja and Brandon Moreno fight. And fortunately, that fight went the distance. And that over was over 3.5 rounds. So I was minus 2 units on my over-unders, which is rare. I normally hit my over-unders, but this was a freaky card, this UFC 290, I'm telling you. So my parlays, my poor man's parlay got crushed because of Jalen Turner. I had 2 units on my poor man's parlay. I had Tatsuro Taira, Jag Magdalena, and Jalen Turner. Jag Magdalena fight got canceled, and the Jalen Turner just disappointed me. So he lost that parlay. My rich man's parlay, this is pathetic, but I had Robert Whittaker, Nico Price, and Yasmin Uruguay. Now, the rich man's parlay is just designed for a guy who can take some risk. And this was somewhat of a risk because we had Nico Price on there. And with Yasmin Uruguay being 10-0, I thought it was a pretty solid bet. But anyway, all 3 lost. Robert Whittaker lost, Nico Price lost, and Yasmin Uruguay lost. And they all lost by KO or TKO, whatever you want to call it. But I had 1 unit on that. So that left me down, let me add it up, minus 1.2 unit, minus 3.2 unit. So that left me down 5.2 units. 5.2 units for UFC 290. But my saving grace was my Hail Mary parlay. I had a unit on Alexander Volkanovski, Vito Petrino, and Alexandre Pantoja. I had those 3 in a parlay, and that parlay paid 4.1 to 1. Yeah. So after all of those upsets, and it was roughly somewhere between 6 out of the 13 fights were won by the underdog. So we had 6 upsets on a 13-fight card. And out of all of that, I still end up only down like minus 1.1 unit. So I'm not totally upset. I don't like losing at all, but I'm not totally upset. Could have been worse. So the next thing I want to go over is the next fight card. Well, first of all, let me speak on some of the fights. Alexander Volkanovski is one phenomenal featherweight. That guy is just, he just completely dominated Yair Rodriguez. So I had to put him in my parlay because I had a feeling that would happen. Volk is just a tough dude. Hard. It's going to be hard to beat that guy. I would love to see him fight Islam Makhachev again. I really would. Now, this next fight night coming up this Saturday, the 15th, the Holly Holm and the Silva fight. I'm working on that right now. I can already give you a heads up and tell you that's going to be a really tough card to predict. I will be doing my best on it. And I will be focusing a lot on a lot of upsets as well, because these last few weeks, we've had somewhere between 30 to 46% underdogs win on these cards. So, like I said, I'll be back again next week, and hopefully have more success. I'll post up my bets and let you guys know, and what I'll do is minimize the parlays. I think I'll just do 2 fight parlays until I get my mojo back, if that's okay. So take care. Hopefully you guys win a lot of money gambling, and I'll check in with you before these fights this Saturday. Take care. Like and subscribe.